All right, welcome everybody to the Rogue World Networking Podcast. We're so excited to be with our very first guest, Jillian here. She is just absolutely awesome, has an amazing story, first off, and because we've talked about it before. Jillian, where did the story of kind of like who you were and really what kind of set you apart begin? Like where does your story even, really start to take shape of who you are?
I would say as far back as I can remember, I always felt a little different, a little against the grain.
Okay.
Always kind of wanted to test the limits and, see how far I could push things sometimes.
Yeah. So you're a rebel.
Yeah. A little bit of a rebel child.
Was that like right off the gate, your parents just knew that you'd be the rebellious one, or was that something that started like in high school?
No, I would say as a child for sure. I got in a lot of mischief as a child, and I was just a very curious child.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that helps you a lot with your entrepreneurship journey?
For sure. I think whenever I was a child, and I look back, curiosity was looked at as like a bad thing.
Uh-huh.
And now I see it as such a good thing. Like it's actually really good to be curious, and we should encourage curiosity because I feel like you find yourself in that.
Wow.
And your passions in your curiosity.
Did that with, being an entrepreneur now and kind of being a rebel back then, was there little entrepreneur moments in your, as you were a kid that kind of because of your rebellious nature, you weren't maybe doing things that other kids were, or how did that kind of intertwine?
I would just say I was always the kind of child that I didn't really care what the other kids were doing necessarily. I just wanted to do what Jillian wanted to do.
Nice.
And sometimes it didn't make any sense to anyone else, but it made perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
And I knew what I was doing. And
you knew that you were doing something that maybe you weren't supposed to sometimes.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's okay.
When you were a teenager, you went through some pretty crazy stuff as well that kind of shaped your life and kind of who you were. And you're basically set to be a cheerleader. And that was where you wanted to, I'm guessing, kind of pursue more so with college and your future. But in your life, from what we've talked about and everything, that kind of got shooken up a little bit. I want to talk a little bit more about that.
So I think as a child and then a teenager, there are certain expectations that's put on us.
Yeah.
Right. And so I tried to follow those as much as I could, but my little rebel streak, and I like to take risk,
Yeah.
Are you getting at the
I'm just
your pregnant
story
kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Or just like your, in high school, transitioning, it sounds like high school was really the main point of where your life really kind of took off in a big way. And kind of what happened in high school with, either getting pregnant but also it sounded like it was kind of like your resilience through that. So that's what I'm kind of getting at.
So, and I feel like it kind of went that way mostly because I had a really hard high school life.
Yeah.
I was bullied a lot, and that was just a difficult time. I ended up switching high schools and went to a different high school to try to get away from the bullying. And then I met my high school sweetheart, and I feel like I really attached myself to him because it felt safe, and I really felt like I didn't need anyone else as long as I had that one person that believed in me and loved me and supported me, And so we were really close, and I ended up getting pregnant in high school, which was extremely difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
And
when you were getting kind of, because through school you're kind of getting bullied, you switched high schools because of bullying and everything. Was there at all, because from my standpoint, kind of what I went through in high school and everything is I was looking for one person to just kind of get me more so than like popularity or anything like that. You want to attach yourself to just like, hey, I just want one person to understand me. And it sounds like that exactly what happened to you. You know, you found your one person. You're like, hey, you're it. All my eggs in your basket. Where we're gonna go from here. This is you and me, ride or die,
for sure.
And because I feel like in high school, a lot of times with a lot of kids, they're looking for acceptance, and when you find that one person, you're like, okay, then here, the whole road is kind of laid out for
sure.
you.
Definitely. I think being a teenager is hard in itself. We're already going to be comparing ourselves to other people. We're already going to be hard on ourselves. Our parents are hard on us. And then whenever you feel like you're alone and everyone is against you and you don't have that one friend, it's a very, very lonely place.
Yeah.
So finding that one person, like you said, that understands you, you just feel like, oh, that's all I need. It's just that one person. So it was definitely, you definitely get attached to that, and you kind of have a need for that validation.
Did you ever like go to like your parents and talk to them about, I mean, obviously you switched schools, so your parents had to get involved with when you're getting like bullied and everything like that.
I did.
What was their kind of?
Well, I ended up having to go to the doctor because I started to develop like really bad anxiety and depression.
Oh man.
From it, and I'd have panic attacks, and I wouldn't understand like what my body was doing, like why am I feeling this way? And as a teenager, when you don't understand, you know, completely what's is happening, it's like kind of scary.
Yeah.
So I definitely would share with my mom what was going on with other girls because I didn't want to go to school. I was really scared to go to school. I didn't go to lunch. I'd go to the office instead of eating lunch.
Oh, man.
I know. When I look back, it's really sad. Definitely helped me with my kids, you know, growing up. I definitely taught them like bullying is my number one. Like if I ever found that out, like you can steal, cheat, lie. Like we'll get through that. If I find out that you've bullied someone, they know that is like a big, because like we were talking about, it only takes one person.
Oh, yeah.
And let's be that one person for someone else. It's the biggest gift that you can give someone is just being someone's friend.
Yeah.
If I would have had just one person, then I probably wouldn't have switched schools.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have one person. So I switched schools thinking, oh, okay, it's going to be better. No one knows me. No one's going to judge me. Well, that's not real. So what happens is I switch schools and it's
how far away was the other school?
It was like 20-minute drive.
Okay. So was there still a lot of like intermingling of people that you knew over there?
No, not necessarily. I think what I've realized is that you can switch where you live, everything. I mean, you're going to have certain problems in your life all the time. And the biggest lesson that I've learned is how I'm going to handle those problems, how I'm going to internalize those problems. I think in the beginning, I'd internalize them and blame myself. And now I look at it and I'm like, wow, they have some serious issues that they're putting on me. And that's not any of my business. And I'm going to, you know, distance myself from those people, but love them and try not to, you know, let it affect me personally too much because it has nothing to do with me. Now I know that. Then, of course, I'm like, gosh, why are they so mean to, like, I just didn't get it because I love hard. I love people.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I've never done anything to you. Why would someone not like me for no reason?
I know.
Like, love me. I'm a lover.
I heard a quote today, actually, and it goes right with what you were saying. It was like, hey, if you have a problem with me, text me. If you don't have my number, you don't know me enough to have a problem with me, right? Like you have no reason. And I feel like, I mean, even today as entrepreneurs, and you probably still get this every once in a while, I know I do, is people that don't even know you will reach out and the problem never changes. Like people trying to be a bully or trying to affect your life never changes. And I feel that when, you know, as a kid, it's so hard because this is such a new thing, and all you're looking for is acceptance because we don't understand. I mean, I feel like as a kid, we need acceptance in some way. Like we'll get it at home because mom and dad are supposed to love us. But when we go out in the world and we want to feel success, the only way that we really feel successful other than money, which we don't really have at the moment, is to feel accepted. But now I feel that through those, you know, in high school and everything, and I bet in your line of work as well, you can kind of be like, you can say all you want. But it doesn't mean nothing.
Oh, it doesn't. Now,
like, I know it's a you problem, just like you're saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I look back, and that was definitely a very difficult time in my life, but I feel like it did give me like a sense of armor for where I am now.
Heck yeah.
Because I do feel like, you know, join the club of haters. I don't even care. It doesn't affect me as, you know, like it did whenever I was younger. And I feel like you just kind of have to sometimes go through those hard times to build that strength to be able to first understand it. I think that's the hardest part. When you're younger, you don't understand. Why is someone being mean to me?
Yeah.
They don't know me. You know, they're judging me, and it's just very confusing. And then once you kind of learn that it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them and their personal struggles that they're putting onto you. Yeah. You're able to like remove that, you know, and not let it affect you as much.
Wow, you learn from a very young age, like the first lesson of an entrepreneur of you got to stop listening to everybody else.
Yes.
Wow, that is
If I listened to everybody else, oh gosh.
Oh man.
I'm glad I didn't.
Same. I would probably be, I probably wouldn't be married to the wife I'm with right now. So no one told me not to marry Lindsay, but because she's perfect. But I just know I wouldn't have been the man that she was looking for,
right?
You know, and what she wanted to do. And so, so you go through high school, you find your high school sweetheart. Yeah. You guys fall in love, your first love, and you get pregnant in high school, which you were also the cheer captain at the time.
Yeah. So just made cheer captain and found out I was pregnant in the same week.
In the same week. Holy cow.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was really scary.
I bet. So, you know, we've talked about this already, but for the people that are listening, what are the thoughts that you went through? Either, you know, maybe somebody's, you know, they just found out that they're pregnant and they're not in high school and they weren't planning on a baby, or they are in high school and they just found out they're pregnant. What were the thoughts? What were the feelings that you're going through?
Just complete shock, just devastation.
Gosh.
And just feeling like there's no way that I can have this baby. I can't. Yeah. I don't have a choice. There's not an option, is how I felt at the time. I grew up in Mormon religion, and that was like you know. Oh yeah,
you're
my mom didn't even think I was having sex. That's for sure. Like maybe kissing.
Yeah,
maybe, but definitely not. You know, she definitely didn't think that at all. And you know, that was my first love. I had not ever been with anyone else. And
how did he react? Because you went and told him.
So I was at his house. He's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
And I remember, you know, I'd missed my period, and I was just thinking, there's no way I'm pregnant, but we'll just take this test to see. Although I was like a month late, and I took the test, and I was just completely speechless, and like, this is unreal. It felt very, very unreal, you know? And I feel like we're in the scene. You remember when the fly lands on, what's this, remember? I just had that mission.
The fly just like comes in. You're like, just as long as you don't bug us.
On his hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like.
For those that are listening that not watching this, a fly just came into the studio.
Oh, I thought it's editable, right?
Yeah, we could edit it. Okay. But why?
Have
some fun, right? We're keeping it real. We might edit it out, but we'll see.
I love it.
There's a lot of things that people in podcasts, a lot of times they're like, oh, edit that out. And then you're like,
and that's the best part.
That's the good part.
I agree.
So,
So back to
right when
what-
it flew in, I was like, oh, okay, back
I've
to
seen
you.
you look at it. That's the only reason I brought it up. But so yeah, it was very unreal. Like, this is not happening right now. It's just when you're young, you don't think things can happen to you. It's
Yeah,
in the movies.
you're invincible.
It's not real.
Yeah.
You know, you're driving your car and you're just flying, and it's,
Or that's
you know,
or that's like in the other town. That happens over
Yeah,
at
that's
that
not gonna
high
happen to
school.
me.
You know?
yeah.
Wow.
So that it was definitely a shock. And I remember I walked in there to my boyfriend at the time, and I'm like, I'm pregnant. And he was just like, what? And I remember his
No.
eyes were just so big.
Did he play any sports or anything like
He
that?
was a football player.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, football player and cheerleader, Mormon girl got pregnant.
Oh man.
And on top of that, if you know my mom, we love her, but she's a perfectionist.
Oh man.
Very, you know, her standards are extremely high, and definitely didn't want to tell. I mean, I was scared to tell her anything that that wasn't great news.
Yeah.
So I knew, like, there's just no way I can tell her that I'm pregnant. That's not even an option. Or my dad. I mean, either, you know.
Gosh.
So that's just something that I can't have this baby.
I would be the same though. Like if I got somebody pregnant,
Yeah.
I would be like, I can't, whatever I have to do, I can't tell my parents.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Luckily, his parents at the time, you know,
They're pretty good about it.
I don't.
So did they find
he
out?
wasn't worried about his parents at all. They
Okay.
weren't very religious or anything.
Oh, okay.
And he wasn't in high school, so I mean, they were probably like, they probably would have been happy.
Yeah.
They don't really care, but
Woohoo. So he was out of high school.
yeah,
Oh, okay. So how old were you?
I was 16.
16?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that would just
Yeah.
shake up. So you find out that you're pregnant. You tell him,
Mm-hmm.
what was his, so he was like, oh my gosh. What was
Yeah.
kind of the reaction, the game
He
plan
was
that
just
you guys
like,
kind of made up at
what?
that time?
And I'm like, I'm not having this baby. I have to have an abortion. Like, there's not even an option. And he was just like, well, you know, support whatever you want to do. I would rather you have the baby, but it's not my body. It's not my family. Like, I completely understand. Like, he knew our religion and kind of understood the position that I was put in. And I think
Okay.
he just felt terrible for me because he knew, like, you know, I'm the one that's going to have to deal with everything.
Yeah.
So he was supportive, but also I'm glad that he also shared that he would rather me have the baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just completely just like, you know, just shocked and overwhelmed with the thought. And I just really didn't feel like I had another option. So
Yeah.
I would skip school and go to the library at the time and really try to research about it, because I wanted to feel good inside my mind
Yeah.
about having an abortion, because
Yeah.
at the time, my thoughts on abortion, I had my beliefs about it, and I think I wanted to change my beliefs so that I could be okay with myself making that choice.
Yeah.
And so I studied and read, and I'm a researcher. Like, anything I do, I'm going to research the heck out of it
Man.
first, and like,
Okay.
and then I'll make my own thoughts and my own, you know,
Yeah.
feelings
Make your own
about it.
opinions.
Yeah, my own opinions. So I was trying to make my own opinion change, to be honest, and to fit what I needed it to fit at the time. And I tried to do that, but it just wouldn't quite work. But then again, I still felt like, well, it doesn't matter what I think or believe. Like, I only have one option. There's no way I can tell my parents that I'm pregnant. That's not even an option. So I made an appointment at an abortion clinic and skipped school one day and went to the abortion clinic, and I was sitting there, and it was just a very awful feeling. No one
Ugh.
there was very warm and welcoming. It was very cold, very just like,
And as a teenager too, just sitting in that moment of being like,
the women there, I was just, I don't know. There was just no warmth. That's all I just felt very cold, very not right. You know how you could be somewhere and you're just like, it's not right. And you can't even necessarily put your finger on what it is. It's just no.
Absolutely.
It's just no. It's a feeling.
Like,
it's a vibe.
I've been surrounded
it's the
by
energy.
people and in the outside, and it was middle of July, and been like, I'm not in the right place. I gotta get out of here.
So I left, and I'm like, I can do this another day. I'm not doing it today, and it just did not feel right. And so I left, and I was driving home, and I seen a sign that said, the little billboard signs where I don't even know what those are called with the letters, But anyway, red.
Would they change?
Yeah, like you can change it. Little plastic letters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like one of those little signs.
Okay.
And it said, "Are you pregnant?" with a question mark. And I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, "Do you need someone to talk to?" And I'm like, "Yes."
That's me.
It's me.
Wow.
And I'm like, and so I ripped my little white Saturn in there and I was like, I'm pregnant and I need someone to talk to because I'm, just overwhelmed with this. I was so young and I didn't really have anyone else to talk to about it besides my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting an abortion, so it's not like I can tell anyone. It needs to be a secret.
Yeah.
And
because you're already having hard times at high school anyway.
For sure.
You don't want to be known as now the
No,
pregnant
it's more-
cheerleading captain. That's going to have to go through
Yeah.
these things yet at this moment.
Exactly.
So you give them a call or
No,
you whip in?
I just whip in.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I need someone to talk to right now.
Get me somebody.
Yeah. And they were great. I walked right in, and obviously I gave them a fake name, and I'm not telling them who I am. They're going to call my mom.
Yeah.
So I'm like, gave them fake names, fake numbers, and, they were excellent with me. They were just, and they just listened to me and just let me talk, and they just kind of reassured me that I had plenty of time, that they weren't going to sway me necessarily one way or the other. They just want me to know that there are other options and don't feel like having an abortion is your only option.
Yeah.
So it was a good feeling because I didn't feel pressure. I needed the pressures removed at that time so that I could really think about what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so, we talked that day and it felt really good. And I just, at the end, I just told them like, I'm still going to get an abortion. They're like, that's, you don't have to make any choices right now. You have plenty of time. You're only, I think I was like 6 weeks. You have really like 5 more weeks to make that decision. Just, can you come back in a week? Or I think they actually had me come in every other day in the beginning.
Wow.
They really wanted to probably just make sure that I had someone to talk to about it before I jumped and made a decision that I could have, regretted the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the biggest decision.
Yeah, for sure.
Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. So you go in every other day. Did you talk to the same person?
So I just skipped school. Luckily I had great teachers.
Yeah. Did any of your teachers or anything know?
No.
Nobody knew? You just kind of went with it?
Gosh, no.
Gosh. And then, so when did you decide to tell your parents?
So after going to, it was called Miracles Maternity. After going there a few times, I ended up meeting a lady, and her name was Jan. And each time I went, I kind of talked to someone different, which was nice. So this time I'd went in and talked to this lady named Jan, and I was just kind of telling her, like where I'm coming from. Like, there's just no way. I have to have an abortion. I don't really want to, but I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
My parents would kill me. I'm Mormon, and it's just, there's you can't be pregnant. And
yeah, holy cow.
so she really changed my views a lot just by sharing her story. She just said that, I completely can relate where you're at right now. Whenever I was your age, I was pregnant. She also went to an abortion clinic to have an abortion and had a very similar experience, except she was like back in the room, like having
ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go. And she was just like, no, I got to get out of here. So very similar experience already. And she just said, I too felt like I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
She grew up Catholic, and her parents were very strict. And
oh man.
so she was just like, I felt like I didn't have an option either. But I knew that whenever I was about to have an abortion, that I did not want to do that. So she goes, I ended up going home and telling my parents. And that's what she talked to me about. I think as a child, your mind can't really see past the terrible part. You just see that
Oh yeah.
horrible part, and you don't really see beyond that. So she helped me see, she
Hey,
said,
after this, it can get better.
She's like, everything that you think's going to happen whenever you go home and tell your parents that you're pregnant, it's going to happen.
That doesn't make it any easier though.
No.
I mean, like,
not necessarily, but it actually, like, I'm glad that someone wasn't trying to sugarcoat it to me though.
Yeah.
I love when people just tell me the reality.
yeah,
I can handle it.
yeah,
And she was like, they're going to be everything you think they're going to be. She said, but after a couple months, they're going to love that baby. You're going to be pregnant. Your belly's going to be growing, and they're going to get over it.
Yeah.
Basically is what she was saying. They're
I
going
think
to get
every
over
parent
it.
wants to be a grandparent one day.
Yeah.
My dad, his grandchild is Penelope, my stepdaughter right now, but my dad is he's always said, I had kids for you to have kids, for me to have grandkids.
Oh.
It's like I had you to give me grandkids.
Yeah.
So I could see that, but I could only imagine as, especially someone saying like, hey, this is how bad it's gonna be bad. Whatever you think it is, it's going to. But that you found a lot of, I don't know the words solace or whatever, through, hey, afterwards, it's gonna be okay if you can just make it through that. Did that kind of change your mind on?
Yeah, I think having someone just really kind of opened my eyes to, it's going to be everything terrible that you think it's going to be, but they are going to get over it. And and I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to get over it.
Yeah.
It's not forever. They're not going to hate you forever or be mad forever, and you're about to make a choice that's forever.
Yeah.
And so, as a 16-year-old, it just kind of opened my mind to like, oh yeah, I didn't think past that. I was just stopped at the part that sounded
What
so
happens
terrible.
if I do have this kid?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, so she was going on to tell me her story. She's like, so I went to my parents and told them, I'm pregnant. She goes, it was everything that I'm telling you. It's terrible. She said, but they got over it. And when the baby came, they loved that baby and it was amazing. And I still did everything I wanted to do. And she said, and then she took out a picture of her son and said, and this is my son today.
Yeah.
And I think when she showed me that photo,
Oh man.
it really connected that like there's a human in here,
Yeah.
and she almost aborted that boy, and he's like a 20-year-old. He had just graduated. It was his graduation from the University of Florida, and she's so proud. And I got so emotional, and she was like crying, and it was like, wow.
You
like,
talked to all
this
these
is
different
bigger.
people, and that one person made the difference.
I think she was showing me that this is a lot bigger than what you think it is.
Yeah.
Right now in your little mind, you're 16, you've got a little baby in your tummy, and you're just thinking, I can't face my parents being upset.
Yeah.
And she showed me that this life inside of you is a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And to see it, her standing there with her son, who's a grown man, was like, oh my gosh, it just really connected it for me.
Yeah.
And right then I just was like, I'm going to tell my parents and they'll get over it. And then, and
So did you go tell them that night?
heck no. I put that off as long as I could. I'm like, oh gosh, I'll wait.
How long do you think it was a little bit after before you told
Probably
them?
like maybe 2 weeks. I couldn't put it off much longer because I was just kind of ready to get it over with.
Yeah, let's rip the Band-Aid off.
Rip the Band-Aid off. And like we talked about, I told you how like I personally couldn't tell them because I just could not.
I forgot this part. This is the best part of your entire story.
Yes.
I love this. All right, you can keep going.
Yeah, this is definitely a Jillian moment for sure. So yeah, I was just like, there's no way I would be able to get those words out to my parents. Yeah. No. So I, talked to the missionaries at the time because I thought my mom's going to need a little Jesus with her.
Oh, goodness.
When this news is broke. Right?
These 19, 20-year-old
I'm
boys.
thinking of my mom in the moment.
Yeah. Hey, I would be too, but I'm just thinking about these because I've been a missionary and everything. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, like, if somebody, came to me with 16, 17 years old and said, hey, I'm pregnant. I need you to tell my mom. Get out your best scriptures.
I remember the missionaries' faces. Like, it was hard for them. I think they just like, oh my gosh, I think it's hard for anyone when you see a 16-year-old girl that you feel like could have so much going for her. I think it just worries a lot of people. Like, oh my gosh, this is not what anyone would necessarily want for someone that they care about.
Yeah.
And so, they were so sweet and handled me so well. And, they said they would tell my mom for me. And so,
do you remember what day of the week it was that they that they were going to tell her?
I don't.
So it's just like probably a weekday.
Probably a weekday, like a Wednesday's what's coming to my mind. I don't know.
And then you just planned to make sure you weren't home.
It was like the middle of the week because church wasn't around the corner because I was kind of hoping that it was.
Oh, okay.
Like go to church, pray about it.
Then have the missionaries come over, share scripture of love.
Yeah.
And then you get to rock up.
Yeah.
I can see as a 16-year-old, you're like, this is the best scenario for me.
Exactly.
If I'm going to live through this situation, I'm going to have as much Jesus in this woman's life as possible.
For sure.
The scheming. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So they went on a weekday and you just made sure you weren't there.
Yeah,
when they showed up.
I wasn't there. I was at work.
Oh, okay.
So I was a receptionist at the time, and they went and told her. And I remember, I'm not even sure, how I knew. I don't remember how I communicated with them exactly, but all I know is, I did talk to the missionary. How did she take it? Because before I went home, I needed to know what I was. And he was like, it wasn't good. She fell to the floor in the fetal position, everything. It about killed her.
Yeah.
Because my mom.
In this moment, I would love to just have your mom here.
She'd tell you too. She would tell you. It was devastating for her.
Yeah.
And, and so it was definitely a very.
So did you go in through the front door of your house when you got home that day?
I went through the garage and I just went straight to my room.
Really?
Oh yeah. I didn't want to go face them. I'm like, they need to process this and let it just marinate and let the heat kind of roll off.
Did they not just yell for you when you walked in?
No.
Oh man.
No, but it was bad. I mean, my mom, I don't think she came out of her room for a week.
So you didn't talk to your mom about this for a while?
No.
Because I know my parents, if they heard that from the missionaries, my mom would be she would come and rip me out of wherever I am. Even if I was at work, she'd come and grab me and say, you listen to me right now.
No.
Your mom's like, I'm not.
I think my mom, to be honest, was so up until that point, her life and her children's life looked picture perfect.
Okay.
So I have just ruined her picture perfect. You just really messed it up. We can't have that you're pregnant.
Yeah.
I've messed up that image. So I don't think she, had words for me at that time.
Did you talk to them both at the same time, or did you talk to your dad first?
My dad did come in my room that night, and he ripped my cell phone out of the wall at the time.
Oh, man.
My boyfriend had gotten me the flip phone. You remember those with the little antennas and you pull it up? Yeah. So,
gosh.
and he was, he just said his ass better not come around here. Like, he was very upset, as you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
He just got a 16-year-old pregnant. So and I was like, not saying anything. But, and again, I just didn't say anything and stayed in my room and just knew, like, I'm going to let them cool off because they were both just livid.
So what was the scenario in which, like, it was time to talk about it? Like, when your mom was ready,
well, my mom had my brothers and sisters come in the living room and had me tell them.
Oh, nice.
And my grandparents, like, Jillian has something that she needs, like, my mom is the kind of person, she does hold us very accountable, which I do like now as an adult and raising my own children. I value that.
But as a kid,
it was like, dang it, Mom, can you just...
Yeah, gosh.
But, so that was like the first kind of talk we had about it.
Did it get better?
It did, but it did take a while. Just like the lady had told me. I'm glad that she was just very real about it to me. I think when you're talking to a teenager and they're so worried, my parents are going to be so upset. If you try to tell them, no, they're not going to be that mad. They're not going to be, just tell them so that they, because the reality of the situation, it's not great, but it's definitely not as bad as I had it in my mind.
Yeah.
Too, when she really kind of helped me to see past that point.
And your parents' reaction was more like, okay, now because of probably their religion and everything, they were probably like, okay, now we got to plan for this baby.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have, to them, there is no other option but you have the baby. And you've decided at this time that...
Well, then, they brought up, like, adoption, and the church had me watch, like, adoption videos, and I'm like, there's no way. I'm keeping the baby. Yeah. I'm going to be just fine. And so, it took a few months, and then my parents just, just like she said, they ended up, being a part of my pregnancy and just being supportive. I definitely still had high standards that I, knew that I wanted to follow. I felt terrible. I felt like a letdown as a teenager. I'd already felt like a letdown as a child, which was hard. I'm always getting in trouble. Yeah. Always was, and then now here I am again, and so, I felt like I really need to make them proud of me from this, because I didn't like the feeling of being a letdown or someone not being proud of me, you know. So I went to seminary every morning, big and pregnant, and ended up graduating seminary, finished high school, ended up getting married before I even graduated. Sweetheart. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got married. We went on our honeymoon. I came home, graduated high school, and
you went on your honeymoon before you graduated high school?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
So I had Kaysen my senior year, and I had him in January. So I went back to school, and I had a lot of friends after that. The bullies stopped.
Oh.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, let us know about your baby.
Exactly. They're like, she's pregnant. Let's be nice to her.
Be nice. Cut her a break. She's going through things all of us don't understand.
I will say, when you go through hard times or you're struggling, some people are nicer.
Yeah. When they can see that you're going through something.
Exactly.
Man,
which is kind of sad.
Yeah, that is sad that you have to see that somebody's kind of going through something a little rougher than you.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. So you graduate high school. What were you doing?
So Kaysen was 4 months old. Graduated high school, and at that time, I just remember a lot of
Were you living
people in my head, telling me things that I knew I didn't believe about myself.
Okay.
Like, oh, her life is ruined. She's not gonna go anywhere now. She's gonna be stuck in this town. Like, just not good things. And in my mind, I'm like, yes, I am.
I can still do whatever I want.
I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, that was my life's mission at that time, was like, oh, I'll show you. and I'll prove you wrong, you
Yeah.
know? So,
I'm guilty of that, I would think. You know, like
Yeah.
anytime, because like in my high school, which is just down the street, like we had individuals that they got pregnant in high school. And I, to be honest, I would be one of those people that was like, I don't know what kind of life they're going to live.
Exactly. I mean, the statistics are what they are.
Yeah.
You know, but Jillian likes to, you know,
Yeah.
have her own parade
yeah.
sometimes, do it her way.
I love it.
And I knew, I'm like, I'm not falling in that statistic.
Yeah.
I'm going to go this way. And so I definitely let those negative things that were said about me be like a fuel
Yeah.
for me. I ended up, I think I told you, even back then, like I had the entrepreneur in me at a young age.
Yeah.
My dad has a lot of funny stories. Whenever I was 5, I was selling water from the water hose.
Oh,
Remember?
from the water
Yeah.
hose?
Yeah. We had a family reunion.
You didn't tell me this story.
Oh, I didn't?
No.
Oh.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So he was like, I was 5 years old.
Okay.
And my little mind's like, how can I make money here? I'm bored at this reunion.
Yeah.
Probably. So I set up a little table, got some plastic cups that they had, you know, over there by the lemonade or whatever, and got the water hose and started selling the water for a nickel.
Nice.
Like 5 cents. And I was not coming down on my price.
There you go.
And anyway, it was just hilarious. Someone went and got mine. They're like, you know, your daughter's over there selling water from our house for a nickel. And I think he was proud of me. Yeah.
I love
so
that.
you know, and then in school, I was always selling.
What did your dad do for work?
So my dad, he's a contractor. He builds houses. He's an entrepreneur, really.
Okay.
He
so
has his own
that's
business.
why he'd be like, okay, she's getting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're a lot alike for
I
sure.
love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We talked about this because I'm yellow.
Yeah.
You're yellow. He's a yellow.
Oh.
Yeah.
You were raised by a yellow.
And then my mom's a white.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I've never known somebody that was raised. Well, I've never talked to somebody that was raised by a yellow about a yellow parent.
Okay.
I wasn't. So Lindsay's raised by a red and a blue.
Okay.
I was raised by a red and a blue.
Okay.
So like, other than
Wow.
that, being like raised
Yeah.
by a yellow and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
I
that's like
loved
such a
it.
new thing for me.
Yeah.
That because Lindsay and I are both yellows raising
Yes.
probably a blue.
Oh, good. That's good.
Probably.
Yeah.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But that now I have so many questions.
I know.
So many things that add up. So obviously he was super pumped
Yeah.
about that you were, you know, doing those kind of little things. He could see that you're an entrepreneur, kind of a chip off the old block.
Yeah, for sure.
In that way.
Yeah. So he'd
how'd that
laugh
translate?
about it and he thought it was cute,
He's like,
you know.
yeah, just pair the
Yeah,
freaking nickel.
That's my girl doing her
Yeah.
thing.
I love that. How'd that translate to after high school? You have a 4-month-old baby, and you like, how did being like, okay, hey, I'm not going to be held back. What did you do to kind of try to break out of that statistic in a way?
Well, whenever really at the time, like I'm just looking to make money. I'm in community college. I'm like, okay, none of my family had ever gone to college. I was the first.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't even know like how to enroll. I just showed up at the community college and I'm like, hey, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And luckily
Where's
the
my
guidance.
first class?
Yeah. They helped me, you know, get enrolled. And so at that time I was in community college, just doing like a couple classes at a time. Me and my husband at the time would switch off on.
Okay.
He would keep casing while I was in school and vice versa. But I also knew like I need to make money. So I started my own business. I had a cheerleading team, a competitive cheer team whenever I was 19.
Okay.
And I had like 5 teams. We would travel all over Florida competing. And so that's how I was making money at the time.
Okay.
And then after a little while of that, I just knew like, okay, I really need to put more time into college because I really want to be a nurse.
What made you decide? Because from going from I'm going to be into cheerleading and I'm going to have all these cheer teams. What made you make the switch to being like, I'm going to be a nurse?
I love people. And whenever I was in the hospital having Kaysen, I had a really, really great nurse. And I also had a really terrible nurse.
Oh,
And I seen very quickly how the two experiences make all the difference.
Yeah.
In my experience having a child.
yeah.
And so I really wanted to be that nurse that was like, a ray of sunshine
I love that.
for someone who's, scared or struggling or, having a hard time in the hospital. I wanted to be a good experience and I wanted to take care of people and,
Love it.
Yeah.
She decided, okay, I'm going to be a nurse and I'm going
Right.
to go all in
Yeah.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about balancing, deciding to be a nurse and balancing being a full-time mom. And then your husband's working at the time.
Yeah.
Is he also going to college?
So I went to my husband
Okay.
and I'm like, I want to go to nursing school.
Yeah.
And bless his heart, he looked at me and he just said, "Ooh," he's like, I don't think you can do nursing school. You're not smart enough."
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you have to be really smart to go to nursing school."
Oh my goodness.
And I was thinking, I'm smart.
Yeah. Why?
I'm
You
like,
don't believe in me?
What? Yeah. And he was like, "No, like you have to be really smart. And I just don't think you're like quite smart enough. So maybe go like to be a teacher or." And I'm like, "No, I'm going to be a nurse."
My gosh.
And I'm like,
Man.
"I'll show you." Here we
Yeah.
go again with more like people in my head telling me what I can't
This
do.
is exactly where you need to. This is where you fit. So go
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah,
It'll be less schooling. You don't have to work as hard.
exactly.
And
so right then I'm like, well, now I'm definitely
yeah.
going to be a nurse.
I'll
and
show
I'll show you.
Yeah.
So of course I'm worked really hard in college and I got into Jacksonville University nursing program and yeah, I had 2 more babies between then.
Wow. So 3 kids.
3 kids.
3 kids and going through nursing school.
Yes.
Were you still doing the cheer teams?
No, I dropped the cheer teams.
Dropped cheers. So you're just full-time college, full-time mom.
Mm-hmm.
When
I did
would
do
you go to
side
school?
cheer stuff on the side to
Okay.
make money, though. I would do
Like
private
private classes?
lessons.
Okay.
Yeah, at my house, I do little summer camps and things like that. So I never quit like making my own money.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I started. So I had Dalen, my youngest, in June. So he was a newborn. I started the program in August. And so I had a 2-year-old newborn, and then Kaysen was 5 at the time.
Wow.
So 3
I mean,
kids
I just
under
manage
5.
a 6-year-old, and I don't know how I can manage life.
Yeah. So that's
Oh,
why I
my
always say if
goodness.
I can make it through nursing school, anyone can. Because my husband wasn't supportive. He did not even want me to go to nursing school. Once I got in, I think he wasn't happy about it. And I think he just was a little bit threatened, like, oh gosh, she's actually doing it.
Mhm.
And, he didn't want me to go to nursing school. He started to kind of get in my head about it and just tell me like, oh, you're being
Why?
selfish.
Why didn't he like it?
Looking back now, I think it was more of an insecurity, like worried about me becoming more independent.
Okay.
And and that's what my teachers would tell me at the time, because it was difficult having a husband who you feel like is mad at you all the time and you just want to make him happy. And, so I would talk to my teachers about it. One of my teachers was amazing. And she just said, he's just really nervous that you're going to become more independent, not need him and leave him. And I was thinking, gosh, that's terrible. I would never leave him.
Yeah.
Why does he think that? You
Yeah.
know? So luckily I was strong enough in my own mind that I knew like want to go to nursing school. This is
Yeah.
what I want. And I feel like I am being a good example for my children,
Oh, yeah.
that I'm still going to achieve my
Heck yeah.
dreams. And, they were there at my graduation. And so
Oh,
it
that's
was
so
really
cute.
special. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I taught classes at the time too, Anytime Fitness, like fitness classes. and things like that. So I'd still I'd still work.
Wow, that's awesome. And then so you graduate nursing school,
Mhm.
and then obviously you just pick up a nursing job.
So graduated nursing school, and my first job was at a psychiatric hospital in our.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
scary.
It was very scary. Ended up quitting like 9 months later because I was almost killed.
Oh man.
It was bad.
Whoa.
Did I tell you about that?
No. Tell us. You got to tell us now.
It was terrible. Well, when you're working at it's the state hospital too, the forensic. So it's the Florida State Hospital. If you look it up, it's where they send all the
Craziest
forensic
people.
Yeah, like they murder people. Like it's bad if you start reading their charts and things.
Man.
So I'm working on the women's ward, and they create stories in their head. And this one girl was like, "You're sleeping with my boyfriend," and she started and she tried to get in the med room at me, and I'm like, "Oh," and it just gave me panic attack.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was like, luckily closed her out and hurried and locked it, but it was very scary. And so I ended up quitting. And the next week, a lady, my replacement, was in the paper because she got all of her teeth knocked out and she was hospitalized.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it's not a place for a small young nurse to start working.
I mean, I bet they hired you pretty quick though.
Oh gosh.
They're like, bring her in. Bring the next victim.
Bring the new one in. She doesn't know what she's getting herself into.
Oh, you say you're just out of nursing school? This is going to be a breeze.
Yeah, you got this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So that was my first nursing job. And then after that, I worked. I really kind of tried to just find my passion in nursing. Went to a nursing home for a while. That I really loved that, just because I was able to really care about people. And I feel like a lot of times not all nurses necessarily do. So it felt good that I was able to kind of serve and be a nurse. For them. Yeah.
Because nurses I will say this, medical field doesn't get paid enough, but they make better money than most.
Yeah.
Than some.
Yeah.
I was a CNA.
Okay.
For a long time. For my mom, who's been a nurse my entire life. She's the director of nursing, and I remember I thought I was the bee's knees, making like $11 an hour, because I was still in high school when I became a CNA, and I just remember all the grown-ups and the nurses and saying, be like, we don't get paid nearly enough. And everything like that. But
no, I still think nurses are way underpaid.
I would agree.
Way underpaid. And I was the type of nurse that I did the CNA work as well. I wasn't ever like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get the CNA.
Yeah.
And I think that's why my team really liked me, is because I'm a team player.
Yeah.
I will do whatever.
Even though I'm here, that means I'm going to play all the roles that fall underneath.
100%.
Do you think that converts a lot with your business now?
For sure.
I mean, I love the feeling I get when I come into Snatch, just to visit you or visit Jesse.
Yeah.
And I can feel exactly that.
Yeah.
That experience as, hey, since I'm a nurse, even though they are separate fields and stuff, but since you were a nurse back then, everything being like, hey, I can do the CNA work too. Because I know you're busy. Because if you're not with me, you're taking care of this patient. I'm in charge of this patient. So I love that.
Yeah. I think whenever I think about Snatch, to me, I was so excluded a lot in high school. And I also remember a lot of being in high school and seeing other people that were excluded as well and didn't have friend groups, didn't feel accepted, didn't feel understood. And I feel like Snatched is a place where I want everyone to feel welcome, loved, accept no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's important is making sure that it has that culture to it, where everyone, it's inclusive.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that a lot. I mean, that from you personally, from the way that your life has gone and everything, feeling so excluded it definitely brings a certain warmth to you of being like, hey, no, like everybody can come be in this team and everyone can be a part of this.
For
and
sure.
I'm going to play my role to my full extent.
Mm-hmm.
So after you were a nurse for quite some time and that ended, your relationship wasn't going exactly the way you wanted it to.
Right.
And you guys eventually get divorced.
So, I mean, it started off rocky. We were very young. He had a really difficult childhood, so I gave a lot of excuses for really bad behavior.
Yeah.
And
you feel like a lot of women do that with men?
Yeah, definitely.
I would.
And a
I
lot
would
of
agree.
women, I mean, we're healers, we're fixers, and we want to fix them and heal them and love them.
Yeah.
We want to love you back to a whole person. And, you know, after a while, you kind of learn that you can't fix other people.
Yeah.
And I've learned with myself, and this goes for any relationship. I've learned that I'll break myself trying to fix someone else. And at the end of the day, that's betraying you, and you need to be, you know, your best friend, your biggest support, and not ever let yourself kind of go there.
How do you think you do that? Like it's we hear that a lot, especially as entrepreneurs. You know, a quote that I hear a lot is like, if you believe in you, nothing else matters. You know, like if the world believes in you, that's great. But if they don't believe in you, it still doesn't matter as long as you believe in yourself.
Exactly.
How do you get to that mindset? Like, how do you actually get to the mindset of like, it's about me and it's not, or that accountability?
Yeah.
That it's not about you. It's about you. It's not about the other person. How do you get to that?
I think it takes practice of talking, really having conversations with yourself. There are two of us, right, that live in our head. And really, you know, even at a young age, now I recognize those conversations that I would even have with myself as a child.
Yeah.
You know, and someone would be like, hey, why is she's out, you know, building forts. And I was such a tomboy.
Yeah.
I was very different than a lot of the other little girls. And in my mind, I would have a conversation with myself, and luckily it was healthy. Yeah. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't care what you think. I love this fort and I'm going to make it amazing. And it's going to have, all of y'all are going to want to come see it. Like I would support myself. And I think that being your own best friend is just so important, because other people are going to be hard on us. We're going to be hard on ourselves at times, and just kind of picking yourself up and feeding yourself healthy thoughts.
Yeah. Do you think that helped you? I'm trying and being kind of light on how I say this is filter. You know, obviously in your first relationship, your first marriage and everything, there was things that he needed to work on. And you realized in that moment, you're like, hey, well, these are his problems. These are things that he needs to work on. And this isn't a relationship for me to be a part of because of these certain situations. Do you feel like because, you know, it kind of seems like, you know, as you're a kid talking to yourself and everything like that, building this relationship with yourself, and then going through high school and, you know, getting bullied and really having to have those, your whole story is having these internal conversations, getting pregnant and being like, I could only imagine you sitting in your little white Saturn, talking to yourself, like, what am I going to do? Am I really going to tell my parents? Am I really going to go through this? Like, it sounds like you were able to really internalize what parts were really important in your life. And when you could separate yourself and say, hey, I've given everything. I've given it all. If that's not good enough for your toxic natures, then this isn't going to work out.
That's what I've learned is, like, if what I have to bring is not enough for you, then that's okay. That's not anything I'm going to beat myself up about. You can, you know, I'll kindly remove myself and I'll be enough for someone else.
Yeah. Wow.
Is really like what I've kind of learned.
Man.
Is I know my value.
Yeah.
I know how hard I work, and I know how hard I love, and I know what I give to relationships.
Wow.
And so I've just really learned to have enough self-respect to know when to remove myself,
Wow.
But it does take time. I would say, my first marriage, because I was so young whenever I got married, I was married for 17 years. And already feeling like a failure with not good enough with my parents. And then I'm married. I'm not good enough for him. Constantly complaining. The house ain't clean enough. The chicken's too dry. But I'm like, oh my gosh. And so at the time, I worked really, really, really hard. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the best wife. This house is going to be spotless.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best mom.
Yeah.
My dinners are going to be amazing. The laundry, everything.
And being a nurse.
And working out and trying to stay fit and being a nurse or being in school or whatever it was at the time. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be perfect. Go to church, do my calling, just be, on my A game in every aspect of my life. And I remember being like, okay, if I do this, then what is there going to be to complain about? That was my way to fix it, right?
Oh.
So I worked myself to death, literally thought, this is my A game, the very best that I have.
This is going to be your life forever.
This is it. I'm about to die.
Oh.
And, I'll never forget him coming home and me just thinking, okay, everything's perfect. The house is perfect. I'm in my cute little pajamas and I'm feeling cute. Kids are asleep, everything. And I remember him coming in and complaining, finding something. And I'm like, right then it was in my mind. And I'm like, it's not you. I talked to myself right then. Again, remember the conversations.
Yeah.
And I told myself, it is not you. You right now, there's nothing more you can do. You are this is the best you. And if this isn't good enough for him, then he needs to go find better.
Yeah.
Please go find it.
Wow.
Because I knew I don't think it
I'm
exists,
not the one.
but I'm not
There's
judge
something
it.
I'm not doing that's going to just keep.
Yeah, maybe I'm not for you, and that's okay.
That is so hard. You say it so easily. You're like, if I'm not for you, it's okay. But a lot of times, there's a lot of people, especially in Utah, because in Utah, you marry young, and that's it. There's no such thing as divorce, none of that.
Yeah.
You say it, and it's because you've learned it a lot.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a coping mechanism, to be honest.
Okay.
I think I went through a lot of little breakups. I had a lot of boyfriends.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had a lot of little boyfriends and there were times that, little heartbreak when you're a teenager is you think it's the end of the world.
Yeah. And
I remember having to just brush it off, because you can't. I'm not a waller in misery person.
Yeah.
I'll make you regret that later person.
Okay.
And so far, it's kind of true.
Oh, goodness. So you get divorced.
Yeah. So as time goes on, you learn people are who they are.
Yeah.
And he, had his struggles, and we just weren't right for each other. And we end up, going our separate ways. And it was a really, really difficult time. My kids were little and
Oh, yeah.
not very little. My son, I think he was 15. My daughter was 12, and Dalen was 9 or 10. So it was at ages, though, that, it's rough on them. And I knew that. And it was very hard decision for me to make because I felt selfish at the time.
Yeah. You felt like, I could only imagine feeling
it's hard.
And Lindsay's kind of talked to me about this, and she had not even a 1-year-old baby by that time.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling like you're taking apart the family unit.
It's very, very hard.
Wow.
But I just knew how toxic that it had got. I will say I still have days I battle with it, to be honest. You question as a parent, when your children are older and they're going through certain things, and there's, we all know there's childhood traumas. Now, when you feel like a parent and that you contributed to that, it's hard for you not to feel some kind of accountability.
What if I just suffered longer?
Yeah. Yeah. And I had a good talk with my daughter the other day, and I brought that up. I'm like, gosh, maybe I should have stayed with your dad. And she's like, no. She's like, and I remember, she said, do you remember asking I guess I'd asked like her and her brother, do you want me to go back to your dad? Because if you want me to, I'll do it for them. Like for your children, you would do anything. And I think they knew too at the time. It was just like so toxic and not healthy for either of us.
Think about the childhood trauma they would have had if you would have stayed.
Yeah. So it's just not good either way.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's, you know, I had an opportunity to move to Utah, and I took that opportunity really quickly. I think I came out here in like July with Jesse.
Okay.
No, it was like June, end of June. And
you and Jesse moved out here at the same time?
No.
Oh,
so
okay.
she's been out here. I came to visit her.
Oh, okay.
And no, actually, she came to Florida. That's what it was. She came to Florida. We were at our lake house that her and I grew up on.
For Lake Week?
For Lake Week.
Oh, man.
And I'm with my kids.
The notorious Lake Week.
Yes. And her kids started talking about what all they do in Utah and all this fun stuff. And my kids are like, we'd love to live in Utah. It sounds so fun. Blah, blah, blah. Mom, let's. And I was like, I'd love kind of just like a fresh start. And like, so anyway, I ended up, so that was the end of June, and we moved in August.
Right then.
That's a Jillian move for you.
I love it.
Once I make my mind up on something, there's no turning back.
You're there.
So we ended up, we sold everything in our house and just took what would fit in my car and started over.
Wow.
That was 5.5 years ago.
And 2 of your kids came with you.
Yep.
One of them stayed.
Yep. One of them stayed. He does it's like a prep college for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just goes back and forth a lot. And so, yeah.
Wow.
But it was a very neat experience. Whenever I look back, I'm like, that was a lot of fun to just and sell everything and really just like
brand new start.
Brand new. Like we don't know what's going to happen. It was just such an adventure.
Wow.
And we were just selling things out of the house left and right. We just had like open house. People would come in and the kids would be watching TV. And I'm like, kids, TV sold.
It's gone.
Bed sold. Get up. Yeah. Nintendo's gone.
Oh, man.
And just sold everything. And it felt good to get it, like your belongings do have energy. And I don't know if you've heard it, about that, but it felt really good to not bring anything. I really just needed that complete start over. And
when I got divorced, I didn't bring anything. I actually, when I got divorced, we had a house and I got a dumpster and I threw everything away.
Mm-hmm.
Like unless my ex-wife wanted it, because I'm like, hey, take it somewhere else. I threw it away.
Yeah.
Like, I have absolutely nothing. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Like a fresh start.
It felt really good. Felt really good. Just like a start over, And my kids loved it.
How old were your kids when you moved here?
So let's see. Kason's 21 now. So he was like 16. No, he was, because I got his car when he moved here. So he was like 15, almost 16.
Okay.
And then, McCara was like 11, turning 12.
Wow.
Dalen was like,
so they're back
10.
In high school, junior high,
yes.
New kids on the block.
New kids. They were so excited. The snow was new. It was like the worst winter ever. I'll never forget. It was like blizzards all the time. Like, what?
Wow.
But it was such an adventure for us. And
you meet your second husband during this time.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, at this time, also Snatched is kind of born.
Yeah. So not yet.
Okay.
So I met my second husband, which is polar opposite of my first.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to do that. I bounce. Like, if you're this, then I'm going to go for that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I've got to work on that. Because I feel like I've already bounced again.
You're good in between.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of this.
I know.
Throw some spice in there.
I don't know if I'm an in-between girl. Because I'm Jillian. I like it a little bit spicy. If it's not, then I'm like boring.
See, my wife is cool as a cucumber, but every once in a while will shake up my life. And I
don't want to be bored. I remember my first husband would like say certain things to me and I'd say, I'm not a plain Jane. Like, I think you want a plain Jane.
Yeah.
I'm not her. That's important for me. Like, I think it's important to stay true to you.
Yeah.
Is one thing I've always will say about me that I love about me is that I've always stayed true to me, who I am is going to be. Yes.
I love it.
I love it.
That's actually something I talk about Lindsay all the time. I'm probably going to forever, but Lindsay and we were talking about something that to like go and do. And I was like, all right, we'll invite Jesse and Blaine, and we'll invite Dallin, Nicole, and we'll invite Jillian. And she's like, Lindsay, basically we were saying, let's invite Jillian, and if she wants to come, she'll come. If she doesn't want to come, she won't show up.
Right.
Like, and I love that.
Yeah.
Because like some friends, I feel like they feel obligated, like, and there are people in our lives that we almost feel obligated to show up. But we're like, you know what? If she doesn't come, it doesn't mean that she doesn't want to be there. Well, it does mean she doesn't want to be there. It's just that she's doing what she wants. And that's what we love. And that's such a healthy thing. Yeah. Like to be like, hey, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with you. And like, that's such a, like, with the way that you grew up too.
I think growing up with a lot of pressure, when you do become an adult and you have the power to remove that pressure, you like it. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to feel pressured and just do what everyone's wanting me to do.
Yeah.
But
if I want to be there, you'll see me there when I want to be there.
Exactly.
I love that.
But I feel like I'm supportive of my friends.
Oh, you are.
And I am mindful of, sometimes I show up for other people, not for myself, but because, that's what you do for your friends. You show up for your friends because you're a good friend.
I just really like, and what I was kind of getting at with the whole Lindsay thing is I just really like that you are very purpose driven in what you do. That's something that we really like and notice, and that's something I admire, because me being who I am and everything, a lot of times being a young guy just kind of doing his thing, some of the things I do aren't purpose driven. And then I see people like you or people like Blaine, and a lot of other individuals that are like, hey, if I'm in this room, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
Be that for somebody else or be that for me.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to these certain places, everything I do has a purpose behind it rather than I'm just going with the flow.
Right.
So that's something that I really enjoy.
Right. I don't just show up because it's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Which is something I feel is so needed, especially, I I always reflect to Utah because it's where I grew up. Like everybody goes because that's what everyone else does. Yeah. And they don't say like, hey, okay, what's my purpose for being here?
Right.
And is it worth my time to be here?
Yeah, for sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's something. So you're going through life, and with your second husband, you move here. And then how is Snatched born?
So whenever I first moved here, I was a home health nurse.
Okay.
And I just really kind of got burnt out on that and decided to go get certified to do Botox. And I absolutely fell in love with it. Loved
Did you
it.
do like a lot of, would you go to like people's houses to do
so
that?
So I started it out of my little apartment that I was living in.
Love it.
Just got a chair on Amazon and just set up my own little thing and just, and I love the art of it. I love creating. So to be able to blend medical, beauty, art, making people feel more confident was just like my perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a dream job, and it still is. So,
when did you decide that, okay, hey, this is bigger than just my apartment?
So I got hired to work at a spa. So I posted a lot of my before and afters, and a spa messaged me to like, hey, they wanted me to come work there.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Yes, So I started to really build my clientele.
Okay.
That's one thing whenever I hire new injectors that I really think back on like how, because I didn't have friends here or family here to build a clientele.
Yeah.
And I built a very big clientele. And so whenever I look back, like, how did I do that? One of the things I feel like I did was stay true to me. And I didn't compare myself to anyone else. Whenever I first got hired at this other spa, there was another injector there that was amazing. Her name was Lauren, and her books were always full. Like, she was definitely someone that, I looked up to, like, oh, wow, that'd be awesome. I can't wait to be like that. But I didn't do it Lauren's way.
Yeah.
I will say that. I didn't look at her and say, oh, how's she doing it, and do it her way.
Yeah.
I just was really in competition with myself.
Yeah.
I think it's important to look at other people like that and aspire to be that way, but then reel it back into like who you are and what gets you there, right? Because my strategy is going to be just for me and what's going to work best for me. So doing it her way wouldn't necessarily get me the same results. It's just how I feel about it. So, I would just look at my numbers from the week before and, say, okay, I want to book 1 or 2 more clients this week than I did the last week. And that's really, the goals that I would give myself were within myself to beat myself the week before.
And attainable. Like, I just need to do one other person.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing crazy, just very obtainable, because you need to feel that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's what keeps you going. And so that's what I would do. I would just look at myself and try to beat myself.
Yeah.
And then slowly, and because I have a passion for what I do, I'd feel like it wasn't as hard to have that drive. I think the passion's what's really important. And so I just really started to build up my clientele, and I met a lot of women and men. I mean, mostly women in this industry that I felt very connected to. In a way that I wanted to like have a bigger impact and like send a bigger message, really.
Okay.
And in the culture of the whole spa. So I felt like the spa that I worked at has a great culture, but I felt like in my little injection room, it was a whole different experience.
Oh, okay.
And a different kind of culture. So
you provided something a little different.
Yeah. I think the Southern hospitality, like some of my culture of where I'm from is, just different. And so I wanted to have that throughout a spa. And I kind of had my own vision and then I'm an entrepreneur. Like, we know this. Jillian's going to do her thing, and she's going to want to do it her way.
Get the hose from the side of the house.
Yeah.
We got this.
Exactly. So, we kind of just came up with our vision, and I remember the day that we went and drove around. My sister Ariana, I kind of look at her because she's here with me, but she's been with me from the very beginning, so it's just neat because she knows like where we started and like where we're at.
Yeah,
and she definitely pushed me. I mean, I would question like, gosh, do I want to do that? It's a lot. Like, you're gonna, as an entrepreneur, you do have those times in your mind you're like, oh, what am I signing up for?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that she was always my biggest cheerleader, and she's like, you can do it. People are coming here for Jillian.
Yeah,
they're coming here for you.
They want that Southern hospitality.
Yeah. And so we drove around and found a spot, and we just knew. I remember putting our
It's a good spot.
Yeah, it was a great spot. We're like, oh, so we called about it, and one thing led to another, and it just all fell in place. And now we have Snatched. It's been there for a year and a half. It's going amazing.
That went by so fast.
I know.
That year and a half went by so quick.
So fast.
Wow. What are some of your greatest challenges when it came to Snatched?
Lots of challenges.
But when you think about it, I
even just talked to Ariana about this earlier today.
What are your greatest challenges when it came to one? Now you're different. Just to like give context here, you're a different kind of entrepreneur in the way of you have a storefront that you manage. You have a physical space where people go and they They're going to judge every single part about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, an entrepreneur like me, all I'm doing is I'm on phone calls. I'm going to lunches at different places. Nobody's judging my space.
I think I've really got to, probably because I was judged for so long, I've built this mental armor that I'm like, judge me. I do not care because you know what? I love it.
This is my way.
I'm proud of it. And if it's not for you, again, it's not for you because you're not going to be for everyone.
Yeah.
And once you kind of learn that, then, and just learn to like let it go and don't try to conform yourself to be for everyone because then you're not going to be for anyone. And just be true to who you are, be proud of who you are.
Yeah.
You're actually going to attract a lot of people. And so I feel like with Snatched, I'm not worried about anyone judging it or having their, opinions about it because I have mine. I'm very proud.
Go ahead, have your opinions.
Yeah, have it.
Man, so what are some of those challenges that you didn't foresee when you made Snatch? Like you were like, hey, this is going to be great. And you started and Snatch is now open. What was like the biggest, two of the biggest things that you had to overcome?
Employees is the hardest for sure. Just making sure it's the right fit for your culture because everyone is so different. I'm very protective over the vibe, the energy to me is very important, that everyone is welcoming, sweet, considerate. So if I kind of start to see that it's not really meshing with that kind of a culture, then you're just not the right fit for us.
Yeah.
And so
are you pretty quick to cut someone off? Are you pretty quick to be like,
pretty
you're just
quick?
Not with
I've tried
us.
to do better because I think I was so protective in the beginning too that I'm like, I would probably prematurely, but actually I'm kind of glad now, to be honest, because people are who they are. Once they kind of show you that, I feel like the quicker you get rid of the cancers, the better. Yeah. For your business.
So you think
I should probably take back the cancers part. That sounded a little aggressive, but no,
it's just
if it's not,
they don't fit with you.
No, and I'm all about I'd rather stay small, and have it a certain way than be bigger and it not be that. I'm just more protective over the bigger message that I want to give.
Yeah.
Rather than growing right now and the money. It's more about like
getting down to the core.
Yeah,
of
the womanhood really.
Share.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love that. What is it that you want? Like as an entrepreneur? Like what is it that Jillian in the next 5 years wants and goals in the most blatant ways of like who you want to be and what you want to do? Like, is that more Snatched? Is that, I know you want, I
like inspiring people.
Okay.
I really like people that don't feel good enough. I want to make them know, I want them to know they are good enough and they're amazing. And I want to point out those things about them that are amazing. We have a lot of opportunities with women coming in that have lower self-esteems, or they're going through divorce, or they're going, they're not accepted here or there, whatever their challenges are, to be that person for them.
Yeah.
That like is going to be there for them, support them, and tell them amazing things about themselves. I try to get to know my clients on a very personal level, not just medical, but like therapeutic. I feel like just be a friend.
You are there. You really are their one person that they can kind of be like, hey, I'm going to go kind of offload my struggles but at the same time be healed through what you're doing for them physically.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely put in a position where we're going to have women come in and they're already insecure coming in the door, right? They're coming in because there's something that they want to
They just
enhance.
don't like something about them.
So having that awareness that they're already coming in feeling that way is important, because we're going to know how to help them see their unique beauty as well that they're not already seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a rough thing for a lot of people to understand, because when I started dating Lindsay, I did not understand lip fillers or any of that. And in fact, I was just like, why? Like,
yeah.
And it's probably from my background, a lot more of like being raised that way and everything. And so, but going through with Lindsay and being like, hey, well, I'm seeing the person that I believe I should see. You know, like the person who I believe I am, I'm just showing on the outward appearance. And what I do, even just for her lips, right? She's just like, this helps my self-confidence to the max.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so
Well, it's
I
like
love
anything.
that.
I feel like, you know, as women, we like to get our hair done, go to the gym, or whatever it is that we want to do, self-care.
Yeah.
It's not any different. And
Yeah.
I feel like for a little while it was looked at as different than self-care. If we have crooked teeth, a lot of us get braces because we want straighter teeth.
Yeah, kids do
So
it.
if we want a little more filler here or there, we want Botox. Then what's the difference? And to me,
Plus,
there's
you're an adult.
not.
You do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And there'll be people that accept you.
Yeah, but I also think it's important in this industry to point out like that we still want you to look like you. We don't want you to come in and, you know, you're showing us a picture of Kim Kardashian and you're like, I want to look. But pointing out that actually what's beautiful is that you're so unique. Like, oh, wow, we love that feature on you. And helping them see their own beauty. Yeah. You know, because a lot of times we have clients come in, they don't have a husband, or they don't have family or friends that are telling them they're not hearing that. Yeah. So to be the person that they're hearing, you know, that can give them that message and let them know how beautiful they are. Wow. And we have people cry all the time. We're just and it's, you know, it's true, but oh, wow, your eyes are so big and beautiful, or we love this or that, or they'll point out their nose, or, you know, something. And it's really sad how much people will pick themselves apart. Yeah. And how they see themselves so differently than we see them. Yeah. You know, have people come in and they'll just pick themselves apart. And I'm like, no, you are beautiful. I'm like, truly, like you have, you know, and just to tell them that, you can tell a lot of people don't hear that. So it's a very... Wow. Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is a good feeling to be able to tell people how beautiful they are.
I love that.
And that the unique part's what is making them so beautiful. Who wants to look like everyone?
Not me.
No, not me. But society tells us that this is what's beautiful. Yeah. So I think it's important whenever you're in a position like I am in a leadership position where I have, you know, the ability to help people see themselves as that's actually what makes them beautiful and stand out. I think that's important. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely.
So I love that, having that.
I love that. Well, 2 more questions for you. One is, what would be your number one advice for an entrepreneur?
Make sure that you're passionate about it, because a lot of the time, like if you're doing it for money, you're not going to be happy. Yeah. You know, so I think that you definitely need to have passion for whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Love that. And then 2, what is one thing you wish you could have told yourself, probably, let's say 10 years ago?
My gosh.
One thing that, if you wish that you had just heard a whisper, or is like you were talking to yourself and you wish that this is what was said to you.
Probably that you are enough.
Love it.
You know, to have one person, I've realized just one person that believes in you, even though you should be that one person for yourself. Now I know that. Like I have a better understanding of that. You don't need your husband to believe in you and this and that. You don't need other people's approval to be proud of you. So I kind of probably wish I'd had that little whisper 10 years ago, because you beat yourself up a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I just said 2 more questions, but
Yeah.
that's really, really hard to do, especially when you talk about like you don't need your significant other to believe in you.
Mm-mm.
Like that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for an individual that's going through that. It's hard for a person's spouse to hear that sometimes, because we get so toxic and like they need me.
Exactly.
They need everything from me.
Yeah.
You know, like they need me to believe in them. Like, of course I believe in them and stuff like that. But I don't think of often about the women or the men that go through being an entrepreneur and say, hey, I'm gonna be this, and their wife or husband says, I don't think you can. So that's incredible.
Yeah. And I don't think you should give that power to anybody, you know, to kind of take that from you. So
Wow.
I think that's important, is at the end of the day, if you're proud of you, that's what matters.
I love it.
You know?
Well, thank you so much, Jillian.
Yeah.
You were the best. If there was one place for someone to find you, connect with you, send you a message about this podcast or anything that you do, where would be the best place for somebody to contact you?
Probably on Instagram.
Okay.
Jillian Brooke _aesthetics.
Perfect. You already knew what I was going to ask.
Yes.
Can you please tell that? Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you so much.